Folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Whatever you are, be a good one. Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. My best friend is a person who will give me a book I have not read. My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me, and I didn't have the heart to let him down. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new after all. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. I am a slow walker, but I never walk back. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. There are no bad pictures. That's just how your face looks sometimes. I can see how it might be possible for a man to look down upon the earth and be an atheist. But I cannot conceive how a man could look up into the heavens and say, "There is no God." Those who look for the bad in people will surely find it. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. I would rather be a little nobody than to be an evil somebody. I have been driven many times upon my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. If I were two-faced, would I be wearing this one? All that I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. Character is like a tree, and reputation its shadow. The shadow is what we think it is, and the tree is the real thing. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. The best way to predict your future is to create it. No man is poor who has a godly mother. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory will swell when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. I laugh because I must not cry. That is all. That is all. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. I will prepare, and someday my chance will come. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. The best thing about the future is that it comes, one day at a time. My father taught me to work, but not to love it. I never did like to work, and I don't deny it. I'd rather read, tell stories, crack jokes, talk, laugh, anything but work. I've always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. If you once forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. It is true that you may fool all of the people some of the time. You can even fool some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. All I have learned, I learned from books. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. I care not for a man's religion, whose dog and cat are not the better for it. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Every man's happiness is his own responsibility. I am in favor of animal rights as well as human rights. That is the way of a whole human being. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. It's not me who can't keep a secret. It's the people I tell that can't. The Lord prefers common-looking people. That is why he made so many of them. It has been my experience that folks who have no vices have very few virtues. You have to do your own growing, no matter how tall your grandfather was. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. You can tell the greatness of a man by what makes him angry. If this is coffee, please bring me some tea. But if this is tea, please bring me some coffee. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts and beer. It is difficult to make a man miserable while he feels worthy of himself and claims kindred to the great God who made him. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure, permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall. But I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other. I am not concerned that you have fallen. I am concerned that you arise. As a nation, we began by declaring that all men are created equal. We now practically read it, all men are created equal, except Negroes. When the know-nothings get control, it will read, all men are created equal, except Negroes and foreigners and Catholics. When it comes to this, I should prefer emigrating to some country where they make no pretense of loving liberty, to Russia, for instance, where despotism can be taken pure, and without the base alloy of hypocrisy. To ease another's heartache is to forget one's own. The better part of one's life consists of his friendships. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. I don't know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. Achievement has no color. When I get ready to talk to people, I spend 2/3 of the time thinking what they want to hear, and 1/3 thinking about what I want to say. From whence shall we expect the approach of danger? Shall some transatlantic military giant step the earth and crush us at a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe and Asia could not by force take a drink from the Ohio River, or make a track on the Blue Ridge in the trial of 1,000 years. No. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we will live forever or die by suicide. Be with a leader when he is right. Stay with him when he is still right, but leave him when he is wrong. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. No matter how much the cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. We should be too big to take offense, and too noble to give it. If there is anything that links the human to the divine, it is the courage to stand by a principle when everybody else rejects it. I have come to the conclusion never again to think of marrying, and for this reason, I can never be satisfied with anyone who would be blockhead enough to have me. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. You can have anything you want if you want it badly enough. You can be anything you want to be. Do anything you set out to accomplish if you hold to that desire with singleness of purpose. The greatest fine art of the future will be the making of a comfortable living from a small piece of land. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. Hypocrite, the man who murdered his parents, and then pleaded for mercy on the grounds that he was an orphan. Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere, who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizen who cares for his brother in the field, and serves, as he best can, the same cause. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. Don't criticize them. They are just what we would be under similar circumstances. Get books, sit yourself down anywhere, and go to reading them yourself. Die when I may. I want it said of me by those who knew me best, that I always plucked a thistle and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow. If this country is ever demoralized, it will come from trying to live without work. It is said, an Eastern monarch once charged his wise men to invent him a sentence to be ever in view, and which should be true and appropriate in all times and situations. They presented him the words, "And this too shall pass away." How much it expresses, how chastening in the hour of pride, how consoling in the depths of affliction. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you, and in the end you are sure to succeed. Those who write clearly have readers, those who write obscurely have commentators. Determine that the thing can and shall be done, and then find the way. Our safety, our liberty, depends upon preserving the Constitution of the United States, as our fathers made it inviolate. The people of the United States are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country. Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or their revolutionary right to dismember it, or overthrow it. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. A capacity and taste for reading gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. It is the key, or one of the keys, to the already solved problems. And not only so, it gives a relish and facility for successfully pursuing the yet unsolved ones. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. In times like the present, men should utter nothing for which they would not willingly be responsible through time and eternity. If I were to try to read, much less answer, all the attacks made on me, this shop might as well be closed for any other business. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep doing so until the end. If the end brings me out all right, what's said against me won't amount to anything. If the end brings me out wrong, 10 angels swearing I was right would make no difference. You can't make a weak man strong by making a strong man weak. Force is all-conquering, but its victories are short-lived. You cannot lift the wage earner up by pulling the wage payer down. If friendship is your weakest point, then you are the strongest person in the world. I believe the Bible is the best gift God has ever given to man. All the good from the Savior of the world is communicated to us through this book. You cannot have the right to do what is wrong. Life is hard, but so very beautiful. A woman is the only thing I am afraid of that I know will not hurt me. Writing, the art of communicating thoughts to the mind through the eye, is the great invention of the world, enabling us to converse with the dead, the absent, and the unborn at all distances of time and space. Congressmen who willfully take action during wartime that damages morale and undermine the military are saboteurs and should be arrested, exiled, or hung. A tendency to melancholy, let it be observed, is a misfortune, not a fault. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation is the philosophy of government in the next. Nothing will divert me from my purpose. It often requires more courage to dare to do right than to fear to do wrong. No man is good enough to govern another man without that other's consent. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. I know there is a God, and that he hates injustice and slavery. I see the storm coming, and I know that his hand is in it. If he has a place and work for me, and I think he has, I believe I am ready. Labor is prior to, and independent of, capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. And in the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. If any man tells you he loves America yet hates labor, he is a liar. If any man tells you he trusts America yet fears labor, he is a fool. I don't like to hear cut-and-dried sermons. No, when I hear a man preach, I like to see him act as if he were fighting bees. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. Upon the subject of education, not presuming to dictate any plan or system respecting it, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as a people can be engaged in. I have been driven many times to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. Education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. In great contests, each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be wrong. God cannot be for and against the same thing at the same time. I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. I am nothing. Truth is everything. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. I am rather inclined to silence, and whether that be wise or not, it is at least more unusual nowadays to find a man who can hold his tongue than to find one who cannot. With educated people, I suppose punctuation is a matter of rule. With me, it is a matter of feeling. But I must say I have a great respect for the semicolon. It's a useful little chap. Truth is generally the best vindication against slander. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. If you want your name to be remembered after your death, either do something worth writing or write something worth reading. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. Investment in knowledge pays the best interest. A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. You can lose everything in life, but not dreams. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. If we never try, we shall never succeed. I do not wish you to believe that I assume to be any better than others who have gone before me. Kindness is the only service that will stand the storm of life and not wash out. Leave nothing for tomorrow which can be done today.